Hello and welcome to SoftIQ Technologies. In today's video, we will be looking at how to customize Odoo in Windows using VS Code. It will be a 7-part series and we will be working with Odoo Enterprise version 18. In the first part of this series, we are going to cover introduction to Odoo and development setup. Part 2, we are going to cover understanding of Odoo modules. Part 3, we are going to cover creating and installing a custom module. Part 4, customizing models and database schema. Part 5, customizing views and user interfaces. Part 6, adding business logic with Python. And Part 7, debugging, testing, and best practices. In this first part, we are going to cover introduction to Odoo. So what is Odoo ERP? Odoo ERP is a suite of integrated business management software with modules for POS, sales, purchase, inventory, accounts, fixed assets, CRM, e-commerce, manufacturing, project management, among many others. So we are going to cover the Odoo architecture. For the purpose of this training, we'll be referring to the documentation available on the below link. So if you go to this link for the documentation, everything we are going to cover is already documented here on the documentation. So Odoo follows a multi-tier architecture, meaning that there is the presentation layer, the business logic, and the data storage, which are separated. Most specifically, it uses a 3-tier architecture. This is common in most other ERP systems, including SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, and others. So in the presentation layer, this handles the user interface or UI and the user experience or UX. And this is represented by the web client or front end, built primarily using JavaScript in Odoo with frameworks like OWL. This manages the communication with users. This layer ensures a smooth interaction whether via a web browser, mobile application, or external API. The next layer is the business logic layer. This implements the application's core functionality, including rules and processes. This layer resides in the Odoo server built with Python. It handles the execution of workflows, validations, and computation of business rules. Modules such as sales, inventory, accounting reside in this layer and define specific business logic. The next layer is the data storage layer. So this manages the data persistence and retrieval. Odoo runs on PostgreSQL database, which serves as a backend for storing all application data, including configurations. Also, this layer interacts with the business logic layer through Odoo ORM, also called Object Relational Mapping, simplifying database interactions by representing database tables as Python classes. So this image gives us an example of how the 3 layers interact. So when a user logs into the presentation layer and runs a report, say for example to get all the total sales, so this command is taken to the logic layer where there's a list of all sales made, let's say for a period, let's say last year. Then a query is sent from the logic layer to the database layer, where the database, there's a storage of the data. All these reports, or rather all the sales that were done, are queued and sent back to the logic layer from the database layer, and then they are presented back to the user on the presentation layer, where they are able to view the report of all the total sales run for the period they run. Also, the presentation tier is a combination of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. The logic tier is exclusively written in Python, while the data tier only supports PostgreSQL. Since version 15, Odoo is actively transitioning to using its own in-house developed OWL framework as part of its presentation tier. The legacy JavaScript framework is still supported but will be deprecated over time. Next, we are going to cover Odoo modules and apps. So both server and client extensions are packaged as modules, which are optionally loaded in a database. So a module is a collection of functions and data that target a single purpose, while an app refers to a specific type of module that is user-facing and provides ready-to-use functionality. So Odoo modules can either add brand new business logic to an Odoo system or alter and extend existing business logic. Everything in Odoo starts and ends with modules. So for example, in the system, we are going to see the differentiation of these two. So if I come here in the system and I come here, so you can see all these are apps, which is a combination of several modules. Say for example, I just want to see the modules that are related to sales, and then I remove this filter for apps. So you will see once you install the sales module, or rather the sales app, there are several other modules that are also installed. For example, this is not an app but a module called Sales Loyalty. If I look at the module information, it tells us more. So this module is used to integrate the discount and loyalty programs mechanisms in sales orders. So this is just an example of modules and also apps. So going back to the presentation, Odoo has a modular structure, and an Odoo module resides in its own folder within the add-ons path. The folder name serves as a module's technical identifier. Modules are loaded from directories specified in the add-ons path of the Odoo configuration file. So the first file that we'll have in the customized folder is the manifest file. This describes the module's metadata and describes its dependencies, data files, and functionality. Then there is an initialization file. This initializes the Python package for the module, commonly imports submodules like models and wizards. Then there is a directory or folder for models. This contains Python files defining the business logic and data structure of the module. Each file defines one or more models by subclassing models. Next directory is the views. This defines the user interface using XML. It includes form views for detailed records, tree, list views for list of records, Kanban views for visual management, and menu items. Another part in the modular structure is the security directory. This manages access control and security rules for models. Files include access control list, defines permission for groups like create, read, write, delete, and also it captures record rules like defining dynamic access rules for specific conditions. Another directory is data. This contains files for loading pre-configured data like settings or default values. Examples include configuration data, default settings, workflows, etc. Also, there is a directory for wizards. These are Python files for creating transient models used for user-driven processes, e.g. pop-up forms or guided workflows. Then there is a directory for static files. This includes static resources like images, CSS, and JavaScript for customizing the front end or back end. Then there are optional components like controllers. This handles HTTP requests for custom web routes or APIs. Also, there is an optional folder called reports. This defines custom reports using XML and templates. Also, there is an optional folder for tests, where Python unit tests for the module are kept. So at a bare minimum, when we will be customizing, we expect our custom folder to have an initialization file, a manifest file, and the below folders or directories, that is models, views, security, data, and static. Next, we are going to cover what editions Odoo has. So Odoo is available in two versions, that is Odoo Enterprise and Odoo Community, which is open source. In addition to services such as support or upgrades, the Enterprise version provides extra functionalities to Odoo. From a technical point of view, these functionalities are simply new modules installed on top of the modules provided by the Community version. The second part of this video, we are going to look at setting up the development environment. We are going to download and install Odoo for Windows, which we have already done. Odoo version 18 Enterprise is running, which also installed PostgreSQL, which we can find out the PostgreSQL version. So if I open this tool called pgadmin, we can be able to know which version of PostgreSQL we are running on which port and such. So I have several PostgreSQL and Odoo versions running, but for now we can just see which one we have here. So we can see we have PostgreSQL running on 5435. Also, we are going to download and install VS Code, which is the code editor we'll be using for this series. We are going to configure the Odoo environment, and then we are going to customize Odoo, and then later we are going to see how we can create workflows, probably in the second video. Okay, so to download and install VS Code, so you can download and install VS Code for Windows from this link, which for us we have already downloaded it. but we have not installed it, so we just install it. So you can accept here, you can click on next, next, next. You can take all these options, maybe apart from the first one, then click on next, and then you can install it. Okay, so we have installed VS Code. So next we are going to configure the Odoo environment. So once VS Code is installed, open the server folder of Odoo inside VS Code. Let us do that. So you can come here, file. Okay, so all this so you can just come here, say open folder, and then you can go to the server folder of Odoo. So right now we're going to look for Odoo Enterprise 18, and then choose this server folder. You can say you trust the others. Next, click on add configuration and run and choose Python, which creates the launch.json. The launch.json file tells VS Code how to launch the Python interpreter with the Odoo server for debugging, making it easier to set breakpoints, step through code, and analyze runtime behavior, including necessary arguments and the environment variables. So we're just going to come here, run. We're going to say add configuration. So it has created the launch.json. So what we're going to do is we have another launch.json that we have configured. Just look at this. So it seems okay. Hide another one and it seems okay. Okay, it is okay. So next we are going to edit the odoo.config file and comment on the log file so that logs will appear directly in the terminal window where Odoo is running. This eliminates the need to constantly open and refresh the log file to see updates, making debugging more efficient. So we are just going to go to the odoo.config file, and from here we are going to comment out the log file. So you can ensure that the VS Code auto-saves. So you can tick this one here so that whenever you do something, it is automatically saved. Next, we are going to stop the Odoo service so as to run Odoo from VS Code, allowing for real-time debugging and logging. So we can just go to the service and we can stop the Odoo service. We can make it manual and then we can stop it. Now if you go back to Odoo, it tells you it's offline, but now if I come here to the VS Code and I can run without debugging, so we can see the system is running now. Running in the development environment on VS Code. Okay, so that is okay. Next part, we are going to begin the Odoo customization. So for the purpose of this video series, we will be creating a custom module for a circle management system using Odoo Enterprise version 18. So we're going to create a folder in the custom folder called you can name your custom module any name, but for us we're going to call it SoftIQ Technologies Circle Management, and in the Odoo config file we are going to add the path to the custom folder. So we can do this. So basically what we are saying here on the Odoo, we're going to create a custom folder here. Then we're going to copy that path, and in the file called odoo.config, we're going to add that path. Sorry, actually we need to copy the actual path. Okay. And then from that folder called custom, we're going to create another directory and call it, as I mentioned, Circle Management System. Let me just rename that Circle Management. Okay, so we've created the folder for custom folder. We've added it on the add-ons path, and we have created our folder for our custom module. Next, we need to initialize the custom module by creating the initialization file, and also we'll need to create the manifest file. So from this folder called Circle Management, we're going to create a new file. So the way you create the initialization file is 2 underscores and then init, then 2 underscores .py. Then we're going to create a second one. That is the manifest file, underscore manifest underscore .py. Then we need to create the minimum folder structure. As we mentioned, we need to have directories for models, views, security, data, and static, which we're going to do right now. So new folder, we'll start with models. This will come in handy in the next video. Models, views, security, data, and static. Okay, so I'm going to copy the content of the, so basically in the init file we just need to have this line there. We'll also cover that one in the next video. So in the init file, do custom, this init file here is the one we want. And then in the manifest file, this is what we need. Okay, so we're going to go through each of these fields here in the manifest file. So the first part is the name of the module, which we have captured as Circle Management System. Next is the version, which we have captured, and the summary, a short description of the module's functionality. And then we can capture the description, detailed description of the module supporting multi-line text. You can capture the author, the name of the module's author or developer, website, category. So category is basically the functional area or category of the module. For our case, we have said that it's in the financial services. License, so license needs to be this LGPL. And then For dependencies, for now we have not put any dependencies, we have not put any data. For installable, we have indicated that this can be installed, and also we are going to have it as an application. So if you leave this as false, it's not going to appear under the apps that are available on the apps menu. So for now, we're just going to say that this is true, and then for the auto install, we'll leave it as false. Now we can just rerun this. So you need to activate the debug mode, which you can do that by just typing debug is equals to 1. And then you can go to the apps, and you can say update apps list. Now, when you come here and search for Circle, you will see a system, our custom module called Circle Management System, which even before we install, we can see here that it's developed by SoftIQ Technologies. It's under category Financial Services. The technical name, basically this technical name is the name of the folder that we created, which is SoftIQ Circle Management. In terms of version, so by default it comes with version 1.0. So each time I will need to add that version field there. Technical data, nothing yet, so let's activate it. So it's been activated. Now if I come here and scroll down, ideally it should be somewhere here. Okay, let me see. Circle Management System. Now, assuming we do not want it to appear here at the bottom, we can add something we call sequence. So we can put sequence just here after summary. Also, whenever you change the version, you can be able to say, for example, maybe we release another update, and you can change this, let's say, to 2.0. So it is going to go and update there, but for now we'll just leave it as that, and we're going to restart. So what we need to do is to come here and say upgrade. So whenever we make changes after you install the app, you need to do an upgrade for it to take changes. So if I go back to apps, now it is appearing as the first app here. So the only other thing maybe we want to do is we want to put an icon here. So inside our static folder that is under custom circle management, we can create another directory here, call it description, and inside here we can be able to copy the icon. So the thing about this icon, just to mention, it requires to be of a specific size, 100 pixels by 100 pixels. So you can copy this icon and put it in that folder. So that's enterprise 18 server Odoo custom and then here under static description you can put it there. Now we're going to restart this, and then we're going to upgrade. So we can see our custom module has been created. So we can come here under module information. So in terms of technical data, no menus so far, no views, no defined reports. All this we are going to cover in the next videos. So that concludes our video for today. We have been able to go through introduction to Odoo architecture and development setup. In our next video, we will cover understanding of Odoo modules. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. We welcome any questions or suggestions, so feel free to contact us at sales@softiqtechnologies.co.ke, and if you can subscribe and like our page, we will appreciate. Thank you.